Yo, what's up, YouTube? Hope you guys have been doing awesome. Um, Today we're going to be building a pretty interesting Golang project. It's going to be a chat application, right? So, we're going to build on our previous WebSockets um, knowledge. So, if you haven't watched that video, probably click the link here or wherever the link is, right? So today we're going to be building a live chat application, and I'm going to quickly show you guys the app we're going to build, and I hope you find it interesting because I found it very interesting to um, learn all of this, right? So as you can see on my screen, there are two instances of this app. So I'm going to create an ID here with just a name, right? Put a name of Henry. Here I'm going to put a name of Ada, and we're connected to the chats, right? So let's say as Henry, I'm going to say hello, and you can see Ada receives the message instantly. And Ada can also say, hey bro, hope you chilling. And you can see Henry receives the messages from Ada, and this is a real-time chat app. It can support, I believe, probably way over a million active connections. So let me just show you guys that. So I'm going to just create another ID. Let's just call this ID GG because I don't really care. I'm just going to add a message. Hello, anyone. Um, and as you can see, Henry receives that message. Ada also receives it. So let's say I send a message back. You can see Ada sees that as you, and yeah. So the chats application can handle probably up to a million active connections, and it's pretty easy, straight. Actually, it's not pretty easy. You have to understand a little bit more advanced Golang concepts like channels and go routines because we would be using go routines. I haven't made a video on channels and go routines, but if I do, I would link them on above so you could probably watch that first. But yeah, hope you enjoyed this video series, and I hope you learned something new. Yeah, so let's hop into the code and see you guys on the other side. Peace. So before we actually hop to the code, I thought it would be a good idea to kind of explain the code through some diagrams, and I hope it makes sense to you guys. So I haven't really used this tool much, so I'm just gonna try and not mess up. All right, so the way our code is going to be structured is just like this, right? So we would be able to create clients. So let's say this represents a client. So we're going to have like, we would have a way to create um, multiple clients on the app. So I want you to just imagine this to be two clients. So all right. So we would have a package that allows us to create clients for each client, that's each browser that makes a request to our server. We create a new client object. Um, so this client object handles receiving and sending of messages. Actually, it just handles receiving of messages. Um, So the client handles receiving of messages, because once we create the client, we also create a web socket to the client. So we have a way to communicate to the client, and we can then send and receive messages from the client. So this is the first like aspect of the code. So the next thing is rooms. So the chats don't exist in isolation, right? So there needs to be a chat room. So the way this works is, so let me see, do I have an arrow? Okay, I'll just try this. How does it work? Anyways, so the chat happens in a room. So we would also create a package for rooms. So essentially, the room handles broadcasting the messages to all the clients. So the way this works is, once a client sends a message, they actually send the message to the room, and then the room broadcasts the message to all the connected clients that are in that room. So if there are 50 clients, if there are 100, the room would send the messages to all the clients in that room. Every active WebSocket would receive a message. I hope this makes sense, and my diagrams are so ugly, but yeah. Anyways, so this is essentially how this would work, and the room also has a struct for messages. So the room has a small struct for messages, and could have actually this could have been its own package, but I just put it into the rooms. So this would be a very simple structure, and yeah, I think that's essentially how it works. We will be using Go routines. So the client will have two Go routines to process the received and the sent messages, right? So this would be how the room would be able to send messages back to the client. It would be through the channels, right? So we would create channels. The room will have one Go routine to handle all outgoing messages. And yeah, that's essentially how it works. Not only outgoing messages, but outgoing messages, registering the client, and some other functionality. I know that this was a little bit messy, but I hope it makes sense. So yeah, so let's hop into the code now, guys. So let's start with the client package, right? Yeah, so the first thing we'll do is we're going to write down some constants that we would use. I would explain these constants later, but I'm just going to copy and paste them. So cool. Alright, so next thing I'm gonna paste the upgrader object. So this is from the WebSockets. So let's fix that as WebSocket library. So this is what we're going to use to upgrade our request. And yep, I think that's cool. So we need to save to import. Okay, that's cool. And we need to run go mod tidy to fetch our WebSockets. So let's do that. Go mod tidy, and that should fix that error. Yeah. Cool. All right, so now we can start working on our client struct. So to be a very simple struct that just basically helps us communicate with our clients, and yeah, so to have the room, which will be of type of room. Um, so this is the current room the client is, right? Um, we'll have the connection, which would be their web socket connection. So we're going to use the WebSocket package to get that. And the last thing is, I think, a channel for their messages. Yeah, so we're going to create a send channel for their messages. So this would be what would be used to send messages to the client. So whenever they receive a message on this channel, it sends them the message. So it's be of type message, which we haven't yet created, but we're going to create that pretty soon. All right, so we need to create our rooms first, so the client will make sense. So let's actually create our rooms. So you know everything makes sense, right? So all right, cool. So create a new folder. Sorry, a new file. Um, call it rooms.go. And yeah, this will be where we'll put our room stuff. So yeah, package main, and we're going to start with our type of room, and that'll be a struct. So the room will have like a couple of fields. So we'll go over each field like one by one sharp, and I'll explain them to you guys. So all right, so the room will have clients, right? So let's start with that. The room will have clients, which would just be a map of all the um, current registered clients that are in that room, right? So the map would store the clients as the key and a boolean as the value. The next is the broadcast channel. This would be a channel that would be used to receive messages that would be broadcasted to the room, right? So the next thing we're going to add would be we are going to, yeah, the register channel, right? So we're going to add the register channel. This will be a channel that we'll use to register clients. And the next thing would be an unregistered channel. So the registered channel basically allows us to unregister clients from the room. So you can see both of these channels are expecting a client, and the broadcast channel is expecting a message. So I think we may create message next, which is fairly simple, fairly straightforward. So type message. So we'll just have a few fields. So the first field is going to be the message. So like the actual, message, which is a string. The next thing would be the type, which is also a string. And the last field would be client. I think client ID, but we haven't yet set that sharp, but the client ID will be added to the message. So it's all caps because it's basically going to be exported as a JSON, right? So that's cool. All right, so we're going to create a function that basically initializes the room, right? So we're going to call it new room, and it will return a room and essentially initialize the room, right? So let's see, we're going to return a room, and we're going to initialize the room. So what would return is a struct. Okay, so I think I'm going to add the ID. So like the room can have an ID, right? Because the room they have an ID previously. So we would essentially build out our new room. So let's go. I'm going to assign it to the room struct, and we're going to fill in the variables. For the ID, we yeah, I think I have to import the ID. For the ID, we would use a random int for now, but we would also generate like a new int, right? So broadcast, we create a channel. For the register, we create a channel, and for the register, we basically create a channel. So we create all the channels that we need. And for the clients, I don't know why it's did that, because I want to kind of make a channel too for the clients. Sorry, I want to make the map. I think that's how you make a map, but I'm not sure. So let me see. Yeah, I think I have to change this to like what I'm used to. So this may work though. This may work, but let me just change it. Add the make, and remove that. All right, cool. So this works. All right, so after that, we're gonna go ahead and comment what we're gonna do next. So what we're going to do next is we're going to run our go routine function, but we haven't yet created it. Go routine. Yo, I just spell go routine. I don't know how to spell it, guys, so I'm just gonna spell it like that. So we need to go ahead and create the function for our go routine. So I think that's what we're going to do next. Let's see. Let's create a function. This would be attached to the room struct. So we need to write the function like this. And it's to be called run. So this function essentially runs our room as a go routine, and it basically handles all the messages that we receive in the channels, right? So this just basically helps us with the registering of the users and all those stuff, right? So I'm gonna create a for loop, not that kind of for loop. Yeah, okay. Create a for loop, create a select to handle our various channels, and we're going to create our first case. So our first case would be, let's say, a client registers, right? So let's do that. So whenever we receive a message of a client register, yeah. So what we'll do is that we'll essentially just add the client to the map, and um, yeah, we add the clients to the map. So let's say our clients, okay, then put in the clients into there and set to true. So now you don't necessarily have to store your client like this. You could have used like an ID name, and instead of storing a boolean, you would have stored like the client on the other as the value. But I'm just storing it like this, so you don't necessarily have to store it like this. So I'll just put true. um and so our client has been stored. All right. So what else do we need to do here? um yeah, I think that's all. Right, our client has been registered. So let's say the case that our client unregisters, right? So if we get a message in our channel from a client that is unregistering, right? So we essentially just have to remove the client from the map. So we would check if they're in the map, and if they exist in the map, we remove them from the map and we unregister them. Um, so I think that's what we'll do next. So um, okay, so let's see. Um, if so, let's check if the client exists in the map. So if okay, okay, client. So we use the delete to remove the client from the map. Um, so I will input the key, right? So that's how we delete the client. So the next thing we'll do is would close the connection. Yeah, so we close the client's connection. Sorry about that. Notification, do not disturb. All right. So yeah, so that's essentially it. So we have unregistered a client. So the next case would be broadcast. So I think let's do that. Probably that's what we're going to do next. All right. So case receive a message. So this is essentially what happens when the room receives an inbound message, right? So essentially, we just have to send that message to all the clients. So we need to send the message to all the clients, send channel, right? So it's the send channel that we push the messages to, right? So um, let's do that. So we receive the message, and we just use a for range loop to loop over our map. So we loop over our our map, and we essentially just push the message into the client's channel. So that's pretty straightforward. Um, client.send, then we're going to pass in the message like so, and yeah, I think that's all. So you can see that's so this sends a message to every single client that's in the room, right? So I think that's cool. So let's go and fix our errors or something. Not much errors. All right. We need to add our ints. So to the room, yeah, this is where we would run our Go routine. But I think before I do that, let's basically generate a random int for the room. So let's seed a random generator from the math standard library. Run.seed and use the time .na dot Unix nano. Where's that? Unix nano. And we're just going to use a very simple generator just to generate disks. So int 32. I'm receiving an error. Okay, I think it's gone. No, it's still there. I don't know what's wrong. But I don't think I should be seeing an error right now because the code looks good. So, yeah, I think we should just move on from the error because the error should not exist right now, and I'll probably figure out what the error was later. So let's run our Go routine because that's the next step we have to do. All right, so we're just gonna say go then room dot run, right? So room dot run, and yep, we have our Go routine currently running. So we need to return the room, right? So yeah, I think that's the last step. So we need to return. Okay, cool. So we return the room. So let's see. So I think everything looks cool. I would figure out what is causing that random error later, but if you made it this far, I think I'm going to end the video here, and in the next video we would essentially build out our clients and basically build out the rest of the chat. So hope you enjoyed this video so far. If you do, please subscribe.